Welcome to Miss Reche YouTube channel, a channel that focuses on African village life. Today, we feature a white woman who gave up all the good life in America and came to live a simple life in an African village in Kenya. She's now married to an African man and is blessed with children. Here is her story.
My name is Carrie Joy Boyce Wanyoni. So I married Bukusu here in Kenya. I'm from the United States of America. I came here 4 years ago in June 2018. And I came here to work with a ministry, the Last Call Ministries. It's an end times prophetic ministry here in Kenya. We're an international ministry, but we're registered here as God's Heart Ministries. And it's not really based in churches. We have churches, but our main ministry is to go out and spread the message about the rapture and the end times, to bring help to the local communities like this one. We mobilize people from the US to try and help certain people out here who are really in need. But we also have people who have donated to us out in these areas and been a blessing to others. I met my husband about a week after I came to Kenya, and I knew right away that he was my husband. God told me that he was the one I was supposed to marry. And so I didn't move here for him, but he was a nice bonus. Yeah, it's like God brings you other blessings. Yeah. You don't always just have to go through hardship all the time. As far as that goes, with God blessing us, when we were in his will, he always, he makes people for a purpose. Sure. Tiger, go. Wait.
Let him do around.
Yeah, but he doesn't need to try and get the chicken either. But anyway.
What was life like back home, and how was it growing up in America?
In the US. Wasn't like this, I can tell you. There's a beauty of like simplicity in this life, and I just love it. But there are some like modern conveniences that I had where I was living, like that pretty much everyone has where I was living there. Your houses have air conditioning and central heating. You have built-in gas. You don't have to go and get it, refill it all the time. It's just built into your home. You get it from the utility company who brings it to your house themselves through the pipes. Water is, inside the house. Obviously, there's places like this in Kenya. It's just not where I'm living. Yeah. I had a dishwasher and a washing machine, and life was just different. I was used to working from a young age, but my work just looked different than it looks here. Okay. I was a property manager, managing several properties out there. And when God called me to come out here, I quit my job, I sold my car, I gave up my two-bedroom house that I was renting, and I just moved. It took a little bit. I had to sell my piano. That was the hardest one for me to sell, was my piano. Because I'm very musically inclined. I've had that piano since I was like 5 years old. So selling that one was the hardest thing. But I knew I was coming to do what I was called to do. So even when I was going through something difficult, it was also rewarding because I knew I was going towards my dreams, going towards my, future that I'd always felt called to. So not everyone is called to this kind of life. Yeah. Some people would come here and be like, oh my gosh, I hate this. But for me, God made me for this. I wanted to be a farmer. I wanted to be around animals. I wanted to have this simple life like this. And so when I came here, although I miss some of my modern conveniences, I love and I appreciate the simplicity that is here in this area of Kenya, like in these local areas. And I'm falling in love with Kenya and Kenyans more and more as I'm here. Wish I spoke the language better, but I don't.
Have you learned some Kiswahili or Ria words?
Very small, okay, kidogo. I know this one. This one right here is Jogo or Edwire. And then those ones are kuku. But I don't know in Bukusu what they are. Chingoho.
Yeah.
Chingoho. Okay, now I know. And then I know with Bukusu, I know Busuma, because we cook ugali like every night, so Busuma is very important. And then I know I know, let's see, why can't I remember that one? I know the regular greetings like Oriena, Omolamu. I know how to say I love you very much, my husband, but I'm forgetting it for some reason. You know, sometimes you know something, but it won't come in your head when you tell it to come. So now I know Mosechiwas is my husband, but I'm forgetting the I love you part. I can only remember Nahusima Lukali Mosechiwas is I love you very much, my husband. Nakupenda sana. Zewangu. Okay, there you go.
Did you study in America?
I studied at Idaho State University, organizational communication minor, economics minor, global history minor, and my major was in political and economic development, international studies. Wait, it's not for you.
It's okay.
This one is Tiger.
Do you have siblings, brothers and sisters? Are they in Kenya with you?
I have one younger brother and one younger sister. My brother's 6 years younger. In fact, he's the same age as Albert. They were born 6 days apart. My brother is 6 years younger than, or 6 days younger than Albert. And my sister is 2 years younger than me. My brother has no kids, but he is married. My sister has 3 kids, and she's been married for like 10 years now, I think. So, yeah. She's a little ahead of me, even though she's younger.
Can you tell us something about your parents? Are they here with you in Kenya?
Yes, absolutely. My parents, I moved with my parents to Kenya to support their ministry. Eventually I'll have my own, but I'm helping them build theirs first. And even after I start my ministry, I believe the two will work hand in hand, because when I look at the vision that my parents have for their ministry, and the vision that God's given me for my ministry, they seem to complement each other. They don't overlap. So I believe that over time, our ministries will work together very well. They also gave up everything that they had. My dad was an engineer back in America. He gave up his job. He and my mom sold their house, their car, and they moved out here. They gave up a good paying job and moved into the missions life where they don't really make money. They have some people who support them, and I will tell you, I've never seen two more giving people in all of my days. They live very local, probably even more local than I do, and they literally give everything that they have to other people, because they see the need too. And my mom will go without eating just to make sure that somebody has medicine. But she won't tell them that she's going without eating. She'll just do it. I see her all the time doing this. She needs heart medicines. And instead of going out to buy her heart medicines, she'll say, no, I have this money. I can wait. I don't need my heart medicine right now, which she really does. But she'll say, I don't need my heart medicine yet. So I'm just going to pay for that medicine because they have malaria, and malaria could kill them, and so they need that medicine. So she'll go and buy things for other people instead of like taking care of herself. But she's always been like that. Even when I was back in the US, even when I was growing up, my mom's the person who will get a birthday present for herself, and instead of spending it on herself, she'll go out, she'll spend it on someone else. That's who my mom is. So yeah, they're out here with me, and I am honored to help them establish their ministry here in Kenya. And eventually I'm really looking forward to working with them. So my music team, it's part of their ministry. Yeah.
How often do you go back home? Or when are you planning to visit your family in America?
I have only been back once in the last 4 years. The first year that I was here, after I married Albert, I got pregnant. 4 months into the pregnancy, so about 8 months after I got married, I got really severe malaria. I was almost dead. Like, I would have to, just to sweep I had a very small house, a 2-bedroom house at that time, just mud, with mud floors. You used the cow dung to put down on the floors at that time. But I used to get up and sweep, and it would take me 2 or 3 times standing and sitting just to sweep out that floor, because I was so sick I couldn't stand for long enough to sweep. They took me to the hospital. The hospital couldn't find anything. But eventually we went to a private doctor, and they said that I had malaria. I had malaria of 2,800 malaria parasites per 200 blood count. Ooh. So it was very severe. He told me he only met one other person in his whole career of 22 years that had it that high. So then he began injections just then. By the end of 1 week of treatment, I came in to be checked to see if the malaria was gone. It was very far from gone because it was so bad. And and he tried to test and find my blood pressure, and he couldn't find my blood pressure. The machine wouldn't even read it. It was so low. He was like, "She's dying. Get her to the hospital right now." And he's a private doctor. Like, he has stuff. He just didn't have everything he needed. So they put me in the back of the tuk-tuk because I came on the motorbike, but I could barely sit back on the motorbike. I was like falling off. So they put me in the back of the tuk-tuk. I was laying across the seat, and they drove me out to Life Care Hospital. And it took 1 month of being in and out of that hospital. I was there on my birthday that year. But I came home. I was better. They told me I was pregnant with Zachariah, you know. They told me I needed to go to America and recover, because they said if you get malaria one more time during this pregnancy, your baby might not survive, even you might die. They said you have to go home and recover. So we went online, we asked for money to help me get home. And friends from home were donating here and there, and I got enough money for a ticket. I spent 2 months there away from Albert. It was so difficult for me to be away from my new husband for that much time, because I really love him so much. But for 2 months, we spoke on WhatsApp every morning, every night, because, you know, when it's nighttime here, it's morning there. When it's morning there, or when it's nighttime there, it's morning here. So we would get on whenever we could, and stay up late at night and wake up early in the morning to talk to each other. And we were really missing each other so much. I came back here. I haven't been back since then. I want to go back, but I want to go back with Albert. I want to go back with the kids all together one day. We're trying to start up some businesses here that can help fund us so that we're not always asking people for money. Because honestly, I'm not the kind of person who always wants to ask people for money. I'll do it while I need to. It's how missionaries get by. But life is really, Albert says, tight. Back home we would say tough. But life is pretty tough, as far as like having enough to provide what I want to provide for my kids, and to get them the schooling that I want. My oldest is my stepdaughter from Albert's previous marriage, and she's with us. She's at school right now. But we're sending her to a private school, the same one we want to send our kids to, because I'm not going to treat my stepdaughter any different than I treat my own kids. So we put her in that same school. And now we just know that we have to build business so that we can provide for ourselves and get what our family needs. We're looking into like a chicken business, to grow this to be like an actual business, not just like a local chicken thing. We're talking into like saving up and eventually one day being able to buy a rock truck, because those can make enough money. You know, they break these stones, these big ones, they break them up and they load them in a lorry. And then they take them to sell. But if you own the lorry, you can make the good money. I have broken the small stones before. But Albert begs me not to, because he told me I can get sick. And I was very angry at him one day. And even though he told me don't go and break the stones, I went out and I said, he just doesn't know I can. And I started breaking the small stones and putting them, breaking small. When I'm angry, I work very hard. So I'm breaking small stones and he's away. He comes home and he's like, why are you doing that one? It's too hard for you. You don't need to do that one. Because he loves me. He doesn't want me to hurt myself. Anyway, I was so stubborn. I just kept doing it. By the end of the day, I had blisters all over my hands from breaking those small stones. And I made almost no difference on the stones.
Does your friends and siblings visit you in Kenya?
My sister came once. I have friends who have said they want to come, but they haven't come yet. And I don't know if my brother will ever come out. He's not a traveler.
Do you sometimes miss home and family in America?
Miss home? I do miss home. this feels like home to me now. But I've moved so much in my life because in the U.S. you don't stay in one place. I was born in California. When I was 15 years old, I moved to Idaho, which is in the middle of the United States. And then when I was 22, I moved to North Carolina. And then from North Carolina at 33 years old, I moved to Kenya. Around 30, I started losing track of my age. I don't know why that is, but like it just stopped mattering and I lost track of my age. I even forgot that I'm 36. I thought I was 35 still. So anyway, now that I'm in Kenya, I miss my family back home. My brother, my sister, my in-laws, my niece and nephew. But I miss some things like at Christmas time. I miss the traditions that we had at Christmas time out there. I miss the snow that I used to have sometimes. I miss the cold because where I am, it's always warm to me. Even when other people think it's cold, my body's used to much colder, so it's warm to me. But I love Kenya. I love the people of Kenya. And really, in so many ways, it feels like home. The only time that it doesn't is when I begin, by some people, not by most are amazing, amazing people, but some people, out of just a lack of understanding for the Mzungu, start to treat me like an outsider, start to think that I'm like their own personal bank account or something. And I appreciate that. I appreciate the fact that things are hard out here. And so I understand, and it's not offensive to me, but it makes me feel like I'm not home sometimes. So that's the time when I think I miss home more, is when I begin to feel like other people don't see me like I belong. But most people treat me like I'm part of the culture here, and so I appreciate them.
Do you plan to relocate to America one day?
Nope, not unless God tells us to move. But as far as I know, He brought me out here for work. So unless He says, okay, now I want you to move back, I'm staying here.
How did you meet your Kenyan husband in the village?
I came to Kenya with for missions, as you know. We were coming to Bungoma from Nairobi after we arrived here. Our director here is named Bishop Peter Simiu. And so the first time that we were coming to Bungoma, we were coming to have a meal at his house and then to go and settle into at the time, our missions compound that we were paying for out in Miluki. So we were driving back and it took a long time. Like we were told from Nairobi to here was around 5 hours. It's absolutely not. You know it's not 5 hours. Here in Kenya, someone can say, I'm coming, and then they're there after like 3 or 5 hours, they're coming. But I didn't know that at the time. None of us knew that. So we're waiting. We're told that we're coming back, and we just have someone cooking lunch for us and not to eat anything on the road. So we stopped for lunch there. We didn't eat anything because we said we can't dishonor them. We have to wait and eat when we get there. We didn't get into Bungoma until 4:30 in the morning. So we were just hungry all day. We got here at 4:30 in the morning because our driver was so tired. He kept stopping on the side of the road to sleep because he was afraid he was going to fall asleep on the road. So he kept stopping and sleeping like on the sides of the road. Not safe at all, especially with Mzungus. But yeah, we got in and we met the prayer team who had been praying for us to come here to Kenya. And my husband was one of the prayer team. He's one of the ones that stayed up till 4:30 in the morning to welcome us to Kenya. And he did not speak English at the time. He introduced himself. He thanked God for us coming, all of that stuff, the normal introductions back and forth. And while he was talking, and he was saying, you know, I'm Albert, and we're really happy you've come, whatever he was saying. I don't remember what he was saying because it was 4:30 in the morning. And because at the same time he was talking, God spoke to me and he said, that's the man that you're to marry, and that's why you didn't have a husband back in America. And I was kind of shocked, and I thought, okay, I'm too tired. I'm thinking things on my own. But I started praying about it at that point. And a few weeks later, I was at the compound we were staying at, and I had a vision of myself married to Albert. And we put our hands on the heart of the other person. Like he put his hand here and I put my hand on his heart. And we knew what the other person was thinking and feeling. We just understood that person without speaking. And so I started praying that day. I said, God, if this is you, if you're the one that's telling me that I need to be married to Albert, then I pray that you would either teach me Kiswahili or Pakusu, or you would teach him English, because we need to communicate. I said, if we understand each other, that's wonderful. But we need to run a family together. We need to make decisions together. So give us the ability to communicate using language. That day, he showed up to the compound, and he spoke to me in English, very small, but he was just like, how are you today? And I was blown away that he was speaking in English, because even that he wasn't doing before. And when his brother heard it, his brother's our director, he was completely blown away. My brother Albert, he greeted you in English. He was very, very surprised. And apparently later on, I talked to him once we really began, having a relationship. I began talking to him, and he said that God, he was in prayers that morning, and God told him, speak English with Carrie. And he felt like God just put understanding into his head at that time to be able to learn English. He didn't give him a full understanding. He gave him the ability to hear it and to understand what was being spoken so that he could learn. So he started working really hard to learn English at that point. And we still didn't talk to each other very much for like a couple more months. And he would run out of the room every time that I would go into the same place with him. I figured, okay, I need to get to know this guy, right? I didn't want to chase him myself, because I don't think it's the girl's job to do the chasing. I think God made that for men. I'm a very bold person. Yeah. I can go to a man and be like, I love you, let's go. But I chose not to, because I said, no, that's not what God made me to do, so I will wait. And every time I walked into the room with him, he would get up and leave. So I thought, this man, I've done something to offend this man. I don't know what, but this man, he doesn't like me very much. And I asked his brother, I said, have I done something to offend your brother? Because every time that I come into the room, he leaves. And so then I didn't expect him to just go straight to his brother and ask, but he just left me and went to his brother and asked him if I had offended him. And from that day, that's when Albert started talking to me. I guess he was afraid to talk to me before that. But I was telling my mom a couple weeks after that, I was like, I really believe that Albert's my husband, but we never talk, and I don't know what to do, but my heart is hurting, because in my heart I already love him, because God's told me that he's mine, so I love him, but I'm not able to say anything to him. And that day, as we were standing on the veranda where she was living, he walked up, he just came home, he walked up the veranda, he takes flowers from behind his back and just hands them to me, and then he walks away. He didn't say anything, he just gave me the flowers and walked away. And I felt like, okay, this guy cares about me, but then at the same time, he wouldn't talk to me, he just walked away again, so I was so confused. It was just the next day after that he told me that he loved me, though. And when he told me he loved me, he also told me that he felt like God had told him that I was his wife. And God had already told me he was my husband. So after that, everything progressed very quickly to marriage. Because we had both been talked to by God that this one's our spouse. So now we started calling each other my wife, my husband. My biggest concern was that I didn't know how to cook ugali. And now I can. Now I can cook some good ugali, but then I didn't know how to cook ugali. And with a Bukusu man, their mother will make sure you know how to cook ugali before you marry their son. So my husband looked at me and goes, my wife, don't worry about that. I will make the ugali if I need to. And I knew that that man really loved me, because if he was willing to step outside of his gender boundaries, step outside of his cultural boundaries, then he really felt something. Because men here don't usually step outside of that, like in the village. They don't step outside of that cultural boundary. So he was really feeling something. And I have great respect for him because he is willing to do that. When I'm sick, he still does the cooking for me. It's very nice. He's good to me. I mean, we have our arguments, we have our tough times. Every marriage does. But he's very good to me, and I try to be just as good to him.
What were your family's reactions to you getting married in an African village?
There's two things. From my mom, when she knew that I was feeling like Albert was my husband, when I told her that I believed God wanted me to marry him. But then my brother-in-law, before I had come here, everyone was giving me a hard time. They said, I know you're going to get married in Kenya. I said, I'm not going to get married in Africa. I'm not going out there to marry. I'm not going out there to date. I'm going out there to do the work God has for me. Yeah. And they said, okay, sure. And then I came here and I called them 3 months into being here. I said, okay, I'm marrying a guy. His name is Albert. This is who he is. I started introducing some things, doing some video calls and stuff. And my brother-in-law says, I knew it. I knew you were going to marry a local. And he did. He knew it. I didn't know it. I was so set. I'm like, no, I'm very focused. I'm going out there. I'm just going to do God's work. But when you go somewhere and you sit down in a room with your prayer team and you just get to someone and he starts talking and God says, that one's your husband. You can't say, no, God, I'm not getting married here. Like, if he tells you, he tells you. And now I'm so happy and blessed.
Yeah.
How many kids do you have so far?
Mine? I have 2 that I've given birth to and 1 stepdaughter who is like my daughter.
Yeah.
So I have 3 kids. We have 1 orphan that's, like, he's an older orphan, but I consider him my child too. So that's 4.
Yeah.
But God just keeps growing it. I believe we're going to have a boys' home here one day. When we first got married, I was asking God what he wanted us to do next. And one of the things that he told us, both of us separately, was a boys' home. So eventually we want to open a boys' home, but for now we're helping 1 boy at a time until God opens up the doors.
Are you planning to have more kids of your own, apart from those you are going to adopt?
Yes, I want to have 5 if God allows. Albert's very happy with that number. I've always wanted 5 kids. Okay. Ever since I was little, I've always, you know, I don't know if kids out here talk about that kind of stuff, but my sister and I did. At home you talk about, like, what kind of person you want to marry and how many kids you want and whether you want boys or girls and things like that. So I wanted 5 kids, always. Okay. I wanted mostly boys. But after I got married, I realized I really at least wanted 1 girl. And I absolutely love her so much. Aww. But I want more boys. I want more of anything God will give me. Because you can't control it. You can't say, okay, now I want to have a baby, and then program it into a computer and say, this is what I'm wanting. If God allows, we'll have 5. We're hoping sometime within this next year to try again. So it's coming. I like chapati and managu. Ooh. That's the managu with milk. I thought everyone makes it with milk, but I found out some areas don't make it with milk. So the managu with milk or cream, I love making it. I can make it very well. The kunde with the milk and moheleha, the bean chaff, is very, very tasty. I love that one. Chicken is wonderful.
Of course.
Nyama choma is probably my favorite. Not nyama choma, mbuzi choma. I love mbuzi choma and fried goat. Like when I have it right. Yeah. Those ones are amazing. In America, we eat a lot of meats. Like, we're used to meat as a regular part of our diet. And meat doesn't just mean every kind of protein is meat. But we have a regular, like, protein as part of our life, like, every single day, which I don't have out here. So when I do have meat, I really, really appreciate it. Because this is something like chicken, I might get, like, once every few months. It's not something I get very often, so I'm really happy. Usually, like, I eat sukuma wiki and those things, but they're not my favorite ones. My favorites, I like the really sweet greens. The managu or the kunde are among my favorites. I want to try some more spinach. I've never really cooked spinach to see, but I think I can like the spinach a lot too.
How is your typical day in the village like?
Oh, wow. my days really changed a lot because I have a job to do with the ministry. I don't do all of my laundry and my dishes and stuff all the time. I do some days. But we have a lady named Esther who's his cousin, my husband's cousin, and she helps us around the house, and we help her with some small things here and there. And then I spend most of my time working on the computer, working on music, composing, practicing for church, and then organizing charity things. It's just little small things here and there. So basically my days are to keep an eye open for the needs around me, and to try and see what I have at my disposal, like the people that I know or the resources that I have, to try and connect them with people who need those same things. And a lot of times it's just a little bit here and there, but a little bit, like if you help one person, just one person, but you help one person every month, then at the end of the year you've helped 12 people. At the end of 2 years you've helped 24 people. And when you help little bit by little bit, the amount that you're able to help grows, because people see you helping and they're willing to come on board with you and try and help those other people. So Albert and I try and help the little that we can, even when it's small things. We just try and help here and there. And then other people come on board with us and they say, oh, you have some people staying at your house who need something. I have things that they might need. And then they come and they help us with those people. So then it's not all coming from us. It's a community working together. And that's really what I think ministry is. Like, we go out and we teach, we preach, we sing, but the Bible says that religion in its truest form is this, that you look after widows and orphans in their distress, and you keep yourself untainted from the world. So we keep ourselves as pure from the world as we can. We keep ourselves focused on God, and we try to help those in need as much as we can. Even though we're living in the village, we have very small, but we have more than some people around us, so we share what we can share.
Can you tell us more about your music journey?
My music journey? Well, I grew up on worship teams. My mom and dad used to run the worship team when I was just a little kid. So I grew up playing rhythm instruments. By 5 years old, I was taking piano lessons. I learned the guitar at 10 years old. I got my first job when I was 10, so I could purchase my own guitar. And that's the same exact guitar that I brought with me to Kenya. It's one of my prized possessions. It's not like really fancy, but it's a nice guitar. And I love music. My name means to sing with joy. C-A-R-E-Y, my spelling, it means to sing with joy. And when I was being born, it was a 26-hour delivery, and God gave my mom the verse, suffering may endure for the night, but joy comes in the morning. And he told her to name me to sing with joy. So she looked through the name meanings, and she found that my name means to sing with joy. And it's kind of been prophetic over my life, because I have an anointing in music. I have an anointing in worship specifically. And now I'm working with a team, which is To Sing With Joy International worship team. And we're working on putting together our own music now, making some cover music that we absolutely love. And we'll be recording and releasing some things soon, because it's what I'm passionate about. I'm learning some songs in English, some songs in Kiswahili. I've written my own stuff, but I've never published it before. But eventually we will, as a team, as we perfect what we're doing, as we hone our craft, we'll publish some stuff. But down at the church, I'm working with a guy named Zephaniah. And my husband, and we're all doing worship down there at the church every week. It's getting better and better. So anyone who's around Bungoma, you're welcome to come and check us out. If you visit Bungoma, check us out. We're God's Heart Ministries in Miluki, and our music is wonderful. You're welcome anytime.
You seem to have started working from an early age. Please tell us more about that.
So I used to work for my church. I was the children's craft coordinator. It was a bigger church, so we needed arts and crafts for the kids. I wrote a newsletter for the children. So I was working on the computer and in art from the age of 10. And then after that, I used to do some babysitting. I began working at a restaurant when I was 15. Okay. And I worked in restaurants for many, many years after that, through half of my college career. And I became a janitor after that in college to get through college. I was just cleaning up the student center, and then they were paying part of my fees with that one. Okay. So after that, when I graduated, I couldn't find a job at that time in my profession that I had chosen. So I just, sometimes you can't find a job where you want to find a job, so you just find a job because you need to live, you need to eat, you have to pay for your life. So I worked at a finance institution. I worked as a secretary and receptionist for many, many years. And then I became a property manager after that. There were a lot of volunteer things I did in the meantime. From the age of like 5 up until I left for here, I was working with churches, but that one wasn't for money. It was just volunteering, because in the US, you do the music, you do the teaching Sunday school, you do anything. You're just volunteering your time. You're not getting money for it. So all of that, it was just my passion.
Do people around here appreciate what you do for them in the village?
Oh, my mother-in-law does sometimes when we do stuff for her. But she's your mother-in-law. You're supposed to do stuff for your mother-in-law, right? She's my family. So sometimes when we do stuff for her, she comes and brings like avocados or bananas or something. But I don't know. I hope that people are blessed and I hope that people are touched. But I don't hear much from that. I see other people who will come and they'll see that we helped one person, and then we'll get 3 or 4 more people who need help. But really, like, to help the one person, we were stretching everything that we had to be able to help the one person. So then we don't have something more to help the other people. So then I'm usually a little bit sad about that, because I know all of them need help. I wish that I could help everybody who came to our door asking for it, because I know they come out of need. But usually after I've helped like 1 or 2 people, like there was one girl we got into school at the beginning of the year. She's one of my nieces, actually, so it wasn't really like a ministry thing. There are other kids we help through the ministry. This one was just one that Albert and I were helping because she's family. And so we stretched our pocketbooks. We took a little bit of our money and put it on her school fees, and then we got the list of things she needed. And I don't know how anybody here in these local areas pays for their kids to go to school, because I know what people make here. And I know the money they have here. And if it's hard for me to do it, how hard is it for everyone else locally to try and get the supplies for their kids to go to school? I can understand why a lot of people, get their kids sent home, because even us, it's hard to have that money sometimes. So we stretched and we saved, and for weeks and weeks we budgeted everything that was coming in that was extra. We're like, okay, this is for food, and we'll take this part and we'll buy books. We'll buy, we'll take this one, we'll buy the paper that she needs. We'll take this one and we'll put it on the rest of her uniform. And getting that first bit of school so that she could be admitted, that was the hard part. And then after she was admitted, then it was just waiting until next term, which we just paid like a week ago. We just paid her second term. But yeah, I'm glad that people come to us. I wouldn't have it any other way. I'm glad that they come to us. But I don't know if they feel like I helped them or if they feel like I should have done more. I hope that they know that I do everything that I can do.
What are your hobbies, or what do you like doing during your free time?
We haven't really had time to think about what we like doing. I work all the time, or I take care of the kids. And even if we wanted to go do something, we don't have money to do it, so I don't know what I like doing here. There's a pool. I've been to the pool like once, but the kids didn't want to go in. I think as they get older, they'll like going to the pool, but for now, they weren't interested. So I'm probably not going to go and spend the money to go there again unless it's like a birthday or something. Plus now, the more kids you have, the more money it takes to go do things, because you have more. I do love Noor Cafe, so if we go shopping, sometimes we'll go out, like we go shopping once a month in town. When I get my paycheck, we go and buy a few necessities that I can't find at Mayanja. Okay. And so when we go there, Tiger, go, away, bad boy. When I go there, then if I have something left over, Albert and I will go and get a meal at Noor Cafe. So that's like my one thing that I go out and do sometimes, I guess.
As an individual, what would you want the world to remember you for?
Me as an individual, what I want is to be known as a person who loves Jesus and who showed the love of Jesus to people. Not someone who just spoke that I love Jesus or was religious, but somebody who loved people. And I don't always succeed at that, but I try to, and I grow. Because, none of us can succeed all the time. We all have to grow. But God knows I want that. So he shows me the points. Sometimes I'll have a day where I know I have not treated someone in love. And now I know I have to grow in that. Because it makes me sad about how I've acted if I realize I've had that. It's also tough with the culture. Because sometimes things that are completely normal in my culture are thought of as rude here. Or vice versa, But that one, I would love to be known for my music eventually. But that's just kind of a dream. That maybe eventually I'll be known for my music, but I want to be known first and foremost for my love. My love of people, my love of my family, my love of...
For people going to watch this video, what would you tell them and how can they reach you?
Okay, so there's two ways. Our ministry has a website. It's the Last Call Ministries.weebly.com. And I think I'll probably have to give that one to you guys typed out so that if you wanted to post it on the video, you can. Yeah. Because that one, no one's going to know what Weebly.com is unless they go there regularly.
Your social media platforms?
Oh, yes. So the most popular one that everyone here in Kenya seems to know is the TikTok account. We're Muzunkusu, the Wanyonyi family. So if you just look up the Wanyonyi family, you should be able to find it. But Muzunkusu, M-Z-U-N... K-U-S-U, Muzunkusu. And then on YouTube, I'm also the same, Muzunkusu, the Wanyonyi family. The link you can find through TikTok. My Instagram you can find through TikTok. It's TrueJoy86. And on Facebook, I am Carrie Joy Wanyonyi. And you'll see a picture of a white woman and a Kenyan guy, so it's not that hard to miss. When you type in Wanyonyi, you can find me. But on Facebook, I don't accept a lot of friend requests. So just if you find me, message me, I'll see your message, and then I'll look into the friend request after that. Mm-hmm.
It was a pleasure meeting you. Your final words or remarks?
Follow God's will for your life. Sometimes you come across hard times, but your hard times won't seem nearly as hard for you if you're walking God's plan for your life. Because when you're walking that plan for your life, He's prepared you for the times that He's going to take you through. And those times might not even seem like a trial to you when they would for someone else. They might not... if you're going through a really, really hard time, there's two things. Either it's a trial that you have to go through to grow, or it can be that you're going the opposite way that God has for you. And you have to consider, are you following the way that God set out before you? Are you following the steps that He's asked you to take? Because when you take those, you will find the most fulfillment you've ever had. When He creates you for something, your heart is fulfilled when you do that thing. So if you completely trust God and you move forward in His plan for you, you will find the most fulfilling times in your life, even through hardship.